The Commodore community has been waiting with bated breath and endless speculation on what the surprise announcement would be on June 16th. Wild thoughts like the Amiga announcement, an official Commodore X16, something that would blow our minds. What they announced was a $500 Commodore-branded flip phone. Their words, the not dumb phone, named Callback. No, I'm not kidding. Stick around. Let's go into the Monroe world. Hi everyone, Shane R. Monroe here. By now you all know the news and the internet has gone wild. You would think the zombie apocalypse was upon us. Well, it's not a zombie apocalypse. That would be more interesting. If you already know all the specs and details, skip ahead to the timestamp on the screen. I may cover a few things you don't know, but I do want to respect your time. Officially named the Commodore Callback 8020, this minimalistic flip phone is being touted as the break you need from technology by intentionally placing obstacles in your way of turning this device into another doom-scrolling Facebook tracking monstrosity. Despite pre-installing WhatsApp, a known privacy violator in the meta suite of human data shuckers, these obstacles include a disabled touchscreen and no keyboard outside of the old T9 text entry system. Along with that, it supposedly doesn't include and even blocks social media apps because apparently Instagram is bad, but WhatsApp is just fine. As well as browsers. No looking up how to change that cabin filter on your car with this thing. While the device is not Android-based, it is a Linux phone OS called Sailfish, and it touts 99% Android app compatibility. Perfect for the phone designed to keep you from running dopamine exploitation apps, right? They have expressed they won't prevent sideloading, but the fact that there is no official app store on here lends itself to the barrier friction to keep you from using it for evil purposes. Well, other than WhatsApp, I guess. It has LTE, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and something called secure GPS. Oh, good. So Facebook can continue to get an accurate reading on where you are, wherever you are. If they'd been serious, they would have killed the GPS at the hardware level, but I digress. It sports a MediaTek Hello G81 processor and a massive 64 gigabyte storage on board with 4 gigabytes of RAM. G81, look it up. I'll wait. Yeah, that's a 5-year-old budget chip for $500. I guess it doesn't have to do much, right? The front shell has a 1.77-inch VFD-style display and a rainbow-colored LED notification system. The inside screen is 3.25-inch IPS at 480 by 640 resolution. An undisclosed selfie cameras included and a 48-megapixel Sony camera with flash on the back. Dual SIM plus SD card support up to 256 gigabyte max, and it includes a 32 gigabyte SD card with some free music albums and stuff, clearly stating that U2 is not included. Look, if you know, you know, and yeah, that was funny. Rounding off the unit is a multi-function button on the back, a 1550 milliamp removable battery. Damn, remember those? Good work on that at least. And thank God there is a loop for us to attach charms on it. At least they remembered the important stuff. All of this can be yours in multiple colorways, including gold. Really? A gold overpriced phone in 2026? Room temp check failed for the low price of $500 US, but you might get a break anywhere from $50 to $100 if you do some pre-ordering. In my morning Monroe World Live commute episode, I tore this thing to the ground, and overall I stand by my overall assessment, but with a day of clear-headedness, I'm going to properly cover this thing, why I feel it was a mistake, and discuss what might actually be interesting here. Let's address the obvious stuff first and move on to the more nuanced stuff. It's $500. Now, that's serious money in 2026. Granted, that's less than half the price of any modern flagship phone, but actually a bit more than the second-tier flagship manufacturers like Google and Samsung. That's more than a C64 Ultimate. For many people, that's halfway to rent or a car payment. But like with the forthcoming Steam Machine, cost isn't the issue here. People would buy this for $1,000 and others would refuse to pay $100 for it. Where there's a product, there's a market, even if it isn't for you. This is not a robust device. That's sort of the point, right? Even with sideloading, the specs on this device may be prohibitive for someone that doesn't care that their device is a governmental spy machine to run the sort of apps that you may want to. Plus, there is a lot more to get in the way. At best, it might make an interesting phone as a PC. I'm not really familiar with the OS being used, but Samsung's DeX has proved itself pretty worthy. I'm sure a USB-C keyboard, flash drives, and other such goodies will work just fine on it. Probably no DP-Alt, so I hope the screen is to your liking. Blizzard made sure everyone had a phone. If you know, you know. So this isn't what one would call a contender product. When somebody's current phone breaks, takes a dip in the pool, or is dropped from the Eiffel Tower in a cruel joke, this isn't what someone would reach for to replace it. Because the truth is, this can't replace your existing device as you know it today. Who does that leave for the market? Kids? Collectors of everything Commodore? Backup phone in the car glove box? What? Kids get made fun of at school for having a flagship Android device instead of an iPhone. Imagine your kids going to school with this. Think your significant other's going to go for it? Nah. So it begs the question, who is this for? It is a utility device that isn't particularly catered to full utility. Gen Z or alpha kids buying Taylor Swift records at Target who don't own a turntable? Maybe. If you're watching this video, then the audience is probably you. At least the intended audience. The C64 Ultimate offered a better than OG experience of a beloved utility playing Commodore 64 games. Even if you had an OG 64 bread bin with a dangerously dying PSU and a 1541 that drops out of alignment when you look at it cross-eyed, the C64 Ultimate actually made sense as a companion device at worst, a real living working C64 you don't have to fiddle with at best. Now, what does this phone offer? A companion to your existing phone? Not really. Does it make performing the utility in question easier? God, no, it puts road bumps in at every turn. Morally, does it make sense? Now, when you're pre-installing Facebook apps by default and having a GPS on board, and run apps that are side-loaded from potentially shady sources. So forget about privacy, security, those are out the window. What do we have left here? Another Commodore-branded gadget. A collector's piece designed for utility, but highly unlikely to be used for said utility. So the diehard collectors will have to have it. Some of you have already said that you will definitely buy one. Some people will move their SIM card to it for a few days as a gag and realize that core utility isn't there, and they will be back on their smartphones. Not because they need social media, doom scrolling, or Reddit, but because they need more utility that drags those ugly things in with it. Now you're probably thinking I'm being a bit hard on them. Maybe. After all, I think there's some really well done things here. Let's check out the positives before I tell you what Commodore probably should have done instead. The removable battery is a really big deal to me. It isn't just nostalgia, it's practicality. Don't just think about replacing the battery when it starts bulging. Think about being able to throw a tiny extra battery in your pocket or your backpack. No heavy brick, no USB-C cable. I remember carrying extra batteries for my old phones when I went on vacation. Welcome back. Multiple multicolored notification LEDs. At first I dismissed them, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized how much I missed my old Android LED light that used to actually tell me if I needed to pick up my phone or not. After all, how many times do you pick up your phone to make sure you didn't need to pick up your phone? Then once you have it in hand, you're pulling down the notification shade and you're sucked in. A lot of lights equals a lot of options. Sailfish OS could actually mean something great if the USB-C actually can accept a hub with video out, USB ports, all that jazz. I'm thinking how impressive Samsung DeX is, and I'm wondering if we have a snowball's chance in hell of getting a Linux PC in the pocket. I'm intrigued by the possibility. Possibly the most exciting thing to me, being a quality digital audio guy, is that this thing potentially has real audiophile grade DACs. ESS has a lineage to the old Commodore speech synthesis, and Cirrus Logic is a major player, provided we're not getting the bargain bin versions of those chips. A quality DAP, digital audio player, runs $200 to $300 plus bucks. If this is playing in that space, the $500 price tag stings just a little less. Not sure how Plexamp will look on that little last screen, but I'm suddenly eager to find out. You don't put IEMs in with a product that can't make use of them. You throw in a crappy, cheap set of headphones. Now, this could be a red herring deception, or we have a high-quality digital audio player along with a slightly less than utilitarian phone. I did a little research on Sailfish OS, and it actually has a pretty good track record and construction for security, including sandboxing Android apps from the OS. But at the same time, It is Android 13, and data harvesters like WhatsApp will still be sending back all your data to your overlords. While it was built with security policies in mind, and that means Commodore can lock it down pretty well, I bet it'll only be a matter of hours before somebody has Brave running on it. It is completely Google free, since it really isn't an Android device. That means the former champions of do no evil actually won't get to do the evil that they do now. Of course, that means no Google Play, no Google Pipeline. So if you're entrenched in that ecosystem, even sideloading isn't going to get you in. Depending on you, that could be the greatest thing on earth or a complete crap show. I can live without YouTube if I can hit my Plex server. Your mileage may vary. All this said, I really wish it had been, well, almost anything else that was announced. We knew it couldn't be Amiga because Perry told us so. I expected something I didn't care about, but this was a real gut punch, to be honest. I would have preferred a new vintage Commodore calculator from the old days. I could still use a calculator on my desk, and the early CBM machines were big, bold, and beautiful. What about licensing the Final Cartridge 3 from that guy in Germany, the version with all the apps installed on it? Install some quality of life items for the ultimate, like Maverick disk copier or file copier. I'd buy a rebranded C64 Supercart by Commodore in a second. What about a Tamagotchi in the shape of a Commodore logo? Let me keep a little Jumpman alive by feeding it little red balls every day. I could come up with better than a phone all day long, even if it isn't an Amiga. Some balding, middle-aged, little fish YouTuber like me shouldn't be the one coming up with these stellar ideas. My voice would have given out before choosing a phone as the next release. But hey, what do I know? I'm just an old Gen Xer that's living his childhood vicariously through DVDs, vinyl, and a Commodore 64 Ultimate. Maybe Gen Z and Alpha will eat this phone right up. Maybe there are enough Commodore collectors that this thing will sell out in minutes. I'm not an artist, but I know what I like. If this device turns out to be a rather well-equipped digital audio player with a usable OS under the hood that can pump my FLAC files from my Plex server, and maybe eventually get an IEC adapter that I can load phone-based disk images to my OG Breadbin 64, maybe I'm in. Until then, I think I'm out. Unless my buddy over at Commodore wants to send me one for review. Free is free, after all. And I'll be brutally honest, either way. All right, that's what I got. Drop a comment. Tell me what you think of this thing. And more importantly, what should Commodore have announced instead? I would like to hear it. Like, subscribe, notify, all that good stuff. I'm Shane R. Monroe. Take care, and we'll see you next time.